back to another episode of Inspiration Talks. I'm very excited about today's episode. I have a very special guest all the way from Canada. Lynn Teatro is with me. She is a classroom confidence coach and Facebook podcaster. So, before any delay, let's welcome Lynn. Hi, Lynn. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. And how about you?
I'm also doing good. First of all, thank you so much, Lean, for being part of Inspiration Talks. I really appreciate. So, Lean, I would like to start our today's conversation with your job. What was your first job, and how was your experience in that?
My first job was in a warehouse, is the best way I can call it, for young adults who were developmentally delayed. It was called Sunnydale Home for Children, but most of the students or most of the participants there were older than I was, and I started there when I was 18. They were getting custodial care, like they were getting bathed. A lot of them, well, all of them were incontinent except one, so they were wearing diapers. The food that they were given was all, dessert, and all the food was pureed into one mess. The reason why I started working there was because my sister was developmentally delayed, so I had an experience with that, and so I was hired on that. But when I got pregnant, I quit working there because it was really hard, and I was very glad that those kinds of places were shut down and the patients were moved into real homes where they could have a real bath and sit immersed in water. And I found out later that one woman that I knew had helped move them into real homes. And she said that this one patient had, the first time he was set in a bathtub with warm water instead of sprayed down with a hose that didn't necessarily be comfortable for him, he just melted in the water. He was just so relaxed and so, yeah, probably the best thing that had ever happened to him. So I was really glad to hear that. But that was my first working experience.
Okay, so then how did you shift your career towards counseling?
Well, a long story. Okay. I was raised to be a farmer's daughter. I was taught all the skills of being a farmer's wife: sewing, cooking, cleaning, laundry. Wasn't taught how to shop properly, but was taught all those other things. And my brothers, being boys, they were taught how to drive the tractor and use the equipment and bring in the cows and feed them properly and muck the stalls and that kind of thing. They were taught, how to fix machinery and all the skills that a farmer needs to have. We stayed most of the time on the farm. We only left to go to school. And I had very few role models. The only jobs that I figured were available to women were either teachers or nurses. After I got married 2 weeks out of high school, I am a high school dropout, and did what I was supposed to do. I got married, I had kids, and I was restless. I was not content in that role. I love my husband, I love my kids, but I was not content. And I expressed my interest in going to college, and we had a limited means, so I went to work. I arranged that a friend and I would work at the same place, and when she was working, I would look after her kids, and when I was working, she would look after my kids. So there was no money going out for childcare, and so I tried to save my money to go to school. And the day that I was supposed to register for college, or the night before, my husband at the time and I fought all night. He felt that we didn't have enough money for me to go to school, even though I had saved up for it, and I was adamant that I was going. Of course, the fight turned out to be moot because my stepfather came early in the morning to tell us that my brother had had a diving accident the night before and broke his neck. And he was a totally disabled quadriplegic. So which, kind of threw everything into a new perspective. My family got together and decided that my brother would not be alone in Toronto while he was mending. So we made a pact that there would be one person from the family to go see him every day. And I was included in that loop. So going to college at that time was not possible.
Okay.
It was after my brother mended, and I think the consequences of my brother's accident was realizing that if you want something, you have to go after it now, because life can turn on a dime. I mean, he was a very vital person. He played hockey. He lifted weights. He just was very physical. But he turned into somebody that couldn't use his body anymore, and he had to learn how to be a different person. And it wasn't his choice. It was a forced.
And then in this way, you started your counseling?
Well, then I was working in retail at a chain store after my brother got better and got moved to locally, and I was separated by that time. The death of my brother, the accidents of my brother, me spending so much time with him, our marriage kind of fell apart. So I was a single mom, and decided one day to check in with my high school to see how I could get into university. And the university, or the high school, was on the semester system, and they said, we just started our semester yesterday. You can come in and upgrade and complete your grade 13, which we don't have anymore, and apply as a graduate student. So I did that. I went back into high school with the 17 and 18-year-olds and upgraded my grade 13 and applied to university, and moved my children to Peterborough, where I'm living now, where I was born but moved away. And took psychology, loved it, and did my degree in, it was supposed to be a 30-year program, but I did it in less than 2 years, 13 months. And it was just lucky that, my academic advisor told me I couldn't do that. But when she told me I couldn't do that, I'd already done it. I'd already completed the requirements for my degree. And my son was born that October. And my grandmother died, and I got married that October too. So I wouldn't have been able to go to school that year. There's just too much on my plate.
Okay. So that's great to know. So what is your passion project?
My passion project, when I went to university, when I went to high school, I saw how important a post-secondary school education was to a lot of the students. And a lot of them applied, and a lot of them went to university, but I found out that there's a 30% dropout rate in post-secondary school education in Canada. At that time, it's now risen to 35%. And in the STEM programs, the science, the technology, the engineering, and the math programs, there's a 40% dropout rate. And it's not because these students aren't intelligent. It's not that they're not capable. It's just that they don't have the skills to survive in a brand new environment. And hence, that's why I want them to understand that they need to learn life skills before they go off to university. They need to learn that university is very, very different from high school, that there's no teachers checking up on you to make sure that you've handed in your homework. Your parents aren't telling you to go to bed. They're not asking you if you've got your homework. You're looking after yourself from there on. And a lot of the students, they get away from home, and it's just like, okay, there's no more rules. I have to bust out of that. And then there's also the ones that are very shy and don't self-advocate. They've had their parents interfere on their behalf. And you need to be able to ask for help, whether it's from fellow classmates or from the professors or from support systems. Nobody can help you until you ask for it. They're not mind readers. And most universities have those support systems, but you have to ask for them. So that's one of the things that really, really, that I want to deal with personally is helping them get confident. I call myself a classroom confidence coach.
Okay, that's great to know. And I even agree with the point which you said. A student should have this much confidence that he or she should not be shy enough. Like, they should ask for help if they need help, and they should be punctual in their routines. In short. Okay, so from this, I would like to ask, what is the best healing tool? Okay.
Laughter is number one. And it's been demonstrated that laughter can actually help people heal physically as well as heal emotionally. And for me, I love the forest. One of the best things I can do for myself is find a wooded area and find a trail and wander through the forest and listen to the birds and hear the wind in the trees and look at the different bark and the flora and the fauna and just and be alone. I like my solitude. So laughter and yeah, the forest is my cathedral. Yeah.
So like laughter and solo time are your best favorite healing tools.
Yes.
And yeah, that's true. When you are alone, when you give time to yourself, especially when you're in a place where there are woods, where there's greenery, when the birds are, making different sort of sounds, you try to understand what they are trying to say even sometimes. Have you even tried like what are birds talking with each other, or what are animals like trying to talk to each other or not? Like, did you ever thought about that?
I love cardinals. They're brilliant red, and you can't see them very often.
Yeah,
but you can hear them. So when I'm going for a walk, even in downtown Peterborough, I can hear a cardinal, and I stop and say, "Okay, where are you hiding? I want to see you." And sometimes I find them, and sometimes I don't. But I feel that they're teasing me and saying, "Can you find me?"
So, what are your thoughts on aging?
I think that young people can't feel old, but old people can feel young. So I can feel like a 67-year-old because I'm 67. But I can also act like a 2-year-old because I've been a 2-year-old, and I can take the temper tantrums and the, my way or the highway kind of attitude that 2-year-olds do. But my favorite age is 4 for companions and for me. 4-year-olds are curious. They're always asking questions. They want to know things. And I'm like that. I love to learn. So if I'm not hesitant about asking questions, it doesn't matter whether I know the person or not. If I'm walking down the street and I see something happening and I don't know exactly what it is, I'll ask.
Yeah, that's good to ask. Like, one person never should stop asking. If you don't ask, then how will you learn to learn something? We should ask and ask. The more you ask, the more you learn. Okay.
Exactly.
So from here, I would like to ask every person makes mistake. Like nobody is a mistake-free person. So how do you feel about mistakes?
Mistakes are the best learning tools as long as they're not life-threatening, morally threatening, or permanent. So yeah, I'm a keep trying person. I keep trying until I get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Or as long as it's important to me. If it's not important to me, I'll probably give up easily. But if it's important to me, I will pursue it, and I will get it figured out on my own or with somebody.
Yeah, that's right. There are some people who are, afraid to make mistakes. They will be like, I will make a mistake, then something bad can happen or not. So I feel like we should be free to make mistakes. Like if we don't make mistakes, then how will we able to learn something? So, like, what is the importance in knowing yourself?
There are so many aspects to oneself. There is natural talents and abilities. I love language, and I love writing. I love talking. I'm a language person. My brother, who came from the same gene pool, grew up in the same household that I can, still can't read. He's got a learning disability. But when it comes to cars, machinery, he can take out a transmission and put a brand new one in, in a half an hour. Like there's just no struggle. And he wasn't trained as a mechanic, but this is what he does. This is his zone of genius. So you have to find out what works for you. And, sometimes we have things that we prefer because they come easier to us, and things that we avoid because it's a real struggle. And it doesn't mean that we should avoid them. It just means that when we're confronted with those, we need to recognize that it's going to be a struggle. And just because things are easy doesn't mean we have to do that all the time. We still have to blend them, but we still need to know ourselves. And knowing ourselves too, in terms of introvert or extrovert. I think that's one of the really important things. I know I'm an introvert. I love people. Like I said, I love talking, but I need that quiet time to recharge my batteries. Whereas an extrovert needs people to recharge their batteries. They need the parties, they need the fun, they need the crowds.
Yeah.
So that's a really important thing to know about yourself.
Yeah,
but there's so many dimensions that you can explore.
true. I completely agree. So, how do you manage your work-life balance?
It's not really balanced. It's more integrated. So yeah, I sort of look at my calendar during the week and say, okay, I'm working here. I need to set in some time to do something different. It might be work, but it's something that's totally different than what I'm doing. So, I can be talking with you and then decide that I need a break from talking. And so I will be writing, or I will be creating images to go on my webpage and my social media. So just sort of, it's not resting, but it's changing things up. My grandmother always said a change is as good as a rest.
Yeah.
So I follow her advice.
That's good advice. Like it is like instead of taking break, do something different, and it's considered as a change. So, what's your idea of success? How would you define success?
I think I'm successful now because I am doing something that I am passionate about, and I have the skills to do it. It's so yeah, using knowing yourself, knowing what you care about, and having the autonomy to do it. And I know I can't do it alone. I need to have people supporting me, but I do have to do it. I can't pass it over to somebody else. So that, yeah, I think living a life of passion and using your skills and your abilities to do that, I think is far more successful than power and money.
Okay, Lane. So let's move towards some imagination. Let's imagine and inspire. So, Lane, if you win a lottery ticket, for example, infinite amount of money, how will you spend that money?
Oh, I have a fantasy project. If I had a lot of money, I would create a sort of gated community that is high rise, that is circular, so that in the middle of the circle, there would be trees and park area and swings and slides and everything that families would need to be entertained within that space. And on the top, there would be roof gardens, flowers and vegetables, so that people can garden, and balconies where they can have more flowers and vegetables if they wish, and they can go out and see each other. Yeah. And at the very bottom have retail stores, so that the shopping is also, it's a whole community. And I want it to be environmentally friendly, and I want it to be diverse in terms of ages and cultures and aspirations. But that would require a lot of money, because I'd have to have special engineers and special architects and special designers to do exactly what I wanted. But yeah, that's my big gazillion-dollar fantasy.
Oh my goodness, that's actually a very huge project. Even you need lots of investment in this. But I really wish that you win lottery ticket and you do all this. All the best for this. So, Lynn, if you get a chance to live anywhere for one whole year, what country will you choose?
Oh, geez. Probably France. I've been to Paris once and absolutely loved it. It did not disappoint. But France is also surrounded by other countries, and it's not too far from even going to Africa. So I could stay in France and do some exploring that way. So yeah, I would probably choose France. And I've got wine.
That's great. So if you had a superpower, what superpower would you prefer to choose?
Probably choose to go back in time.
Okay, that's great. So you would prefer to go in your past?
Yes, I would. My father died when I was 4, and I never really got to know him. So I would like to have a chance to sit down and talk with him and find out what his dreams are. He was only 24 when he died, so that's way too young.
Okay, that's sad to hear. So does anyone inspire you in life, Lynn?
A friend of mine, he works for the Council for Persons with Disabilities, and he's got great dedication to that organization and great dedication to supporting people with disabilities and trying to ensure that they can live a rich, full life. Whatever they're passionate about, rather than be excluded because of lousy sidewalks and no elevators and a lack of understanding, I think, is the big barrier to accessibility.
Yeah, that's right. And that's great inspiration. Yeah.
And he's blind. His partner has mobility issues, so she's in a wheelchair most of the time. And they've raised an amazing daughter who is a dancer, and he's never been able to see her dance, but he's so fully supportive of her. So yeah, he's just an amazing person. Okay. So yeah, he inspires me. He inspires me to not fly off the handle, but keep my connections, because I've got a temper. Okay. And he forges connections, and sometimes when I get ticked off, I cut connections.
Okay, that's great to know. So what are you most excited about your work right now? What are your current struggles and your future goals?
My big struggle now is with technology. I know how to use technology, just like I know how to drive a car, but getting it set up and getting it operating is just crazy making for me. So that's one of my big struggles. And right now it's just keeping steady on my course. Things are coming along really nicely, and I'm very happy about that. And I hope to have my first group operating in August.
Okay, all the best for it. So here comes another question: how to grow business? Any tips for it?
Create a community around the business. People that can enhance what you're doing. Maybe find people who are doing something similar to you, who have the same demographic, and feed off each other to help each other grow. And you can do that in groups as well. This world is huge, so there's room for you can find your tribe, the people that you need to be working for and working with over the internet now. You don't have to stick to a geographical area. So just network and have your own niche. Don't think that you can look after everybody. Know exactly who it is that you want to serve and look for them.
That's right. Totally agree with you. Geographically now it's not working. Most of the things are working online. Like everyone is advertising online. Everyone is selling things online. So many people are doing online business as well. So what's one piece of advice would you like to give to my listeners?
Show up. Whether it's to class, to your workplace, to a family reunion, to anything. If you want something to happen, you have to show up and make it happen. And especially your life. Show up for your life. Don't let other people tell you what you should be doing. Figure out what you should be doing and show up for that.
That's right. Always show up for yourself. Never listen to what others say. That's very important advice which you gave. So, Lynn, it was great talking with you, Lynn. I really enjoyed our today's conversation. So, here is a small gesture from me to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Would you like to say something at the end?
Just like that, I like being a global citizen, and it's very nice to go to the Arab countries now. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome.
Mug? No, you don't. I've got a water bottle.